Hello everybody, this is Steve from Old Boy Moto. Yeah, well guys, it's one of those days. It's really cold and it's drizzling and the fog's down. So we're in the middle of winter. Time to get in the workshop and do some maintenance. Now we're right. I've really got that blasting. It's made such a difference in here. It's great. Can't work in here without it. Love it. Well, g'day everyone and welcome back to the channel. So, as you can see, the weather outside's not real good for motorcycling itself, but anyway, we're in the workshop. I've got a little bit of maintenance to do on a couple of bikes. So that'll keep me busy, just trying to get the place warmed up a little bit with the fire going. What I'd like to do today is, what I promised was that I was going to show you a particular bike, a Triumph Thunderbird, a 1996 model. It's a 900 triple. This bike has a special place in my heart. It was filtered down and gifted to me from a person who sadly passed away. His name was Peter Hans, and he was a very well respected member of a couple of organisations that I belong to. So the bike found its way in my hands, and I've kept it, I think, as good as he would have liked it to be kept. And occasionally I take it out to attend functions and events that he belonged to. So I'll show you the bike today, and there were some modifications done by another person, another good friend of Peter's. And if you have any questions on those, please feel free to comment and ask me the questions, and I might be able to steer you on the right path. So it was made to look more like a bit of a bobber, with the flat bars and that sort of stuff, and a bobbed guard and a different headlight and blinkers and that sort of stuff. Was no major modifications were done. In fact, all the original parts are still with me, and if I wanted to put it back to stock, I could quite easily. So I hope you enjoy this video. The bike's actually got a name. It's named Thunder, quite aptly, being a Thunderbird. That'd be a pretty hard number plate to get, I think. And I'll go over the bike and hopefully you'll enjoy that. Yeah guys, so before I get onto the Thunderbird, I'm going to put this harness back on my Indian. There's a bit of a story behind this bike. Shouldn't be here really, because it was sold a while ago, and by some miracle I've still got it. And now that it's winter, I've decided that I'm going to get back to my winter clothing, my heated clothing, and that's something I took off. So I'm going to fix that up, put it back on so that I can wear my vest and gloves and keep myself warm, and then I'll get onto the Thunderbird. Yeah, okay guys, so here's the bike. We've got a 1996 Triumph Thunderbird, and it's in fairly good condition. This one's actually done a fair few Ks, but it's had some, a good maintenance regime all its life. The oils have been changed regularly. Any maintenance that it's ever needed, Peter used to do it, and it was done just before I acquired it, and then I continued to do it. I've done the fork seals and everything on it, and it's just so reliable. It starts first key, no problems there, runs really well. Never really had any problems with it. Yeah, so these bikes, they started off in about 1996 in Hinckley when the factory rebooted. And these bikes here, really, they were designed to try and get in on the Harley business model, which they did quite successfully. you know, the bike, the way it looks now, it's been bobbed. So it looks completely different to, you know, the stock Triumph Thunderbirds. But yeah, when they were designed to lure in the would-be Harley buyer, and they basically copied the Harley model where, and I mean the business model, where they would offer accessories and interchangeable parts and everything else to modify the bike. And not only that, but a range of apparel and everything for the rider, boots, jackets, all that sort of stuff. And it worked, you know, they sold heaps of these for that reason. They were a Harley-ish looking bike when they first came out. I'll post up a picture of an original one in a minute. And you know, the public, especially in England, really went for it in the UK, and these were a very popular bike. And they made their way overseas. They were very popular in Australia as well. And look, to be honest, for 1996, the performance of this particular bike compared to a Harley is chalk and cheese. This thing would eat it alive. You know, no problem to take the front wheel off the ground with this, just twist it on and away you go. It's a water-cooled engine for a start. It's 900cc, so it's not a little bike. But you know, the handling and everything else is pretty good. The only thing I will say about these bikes, the suspension was a bit soft. And I think most owners that are out there with original suspension would agree. A bit mushy in the front end. And also for the power, they're a little bit under braked. So you've only got the one disc on the front wheel, where they could have done with two. They're based on the T300 line, so most parts are interchangeable. Now what I've done with this one myself to improve that mushy suspension is I've put a YSS shock. Now I've used YSS before. I've actually got YSS shocks on this Harley, and I actually did a video of the upgrade on this there. YSS are just a fantastic company. They make some beautiful stuff. Their shocks, their suspension is second to none really. They're based in Thailand, and they make a really good product, and it is certified. It's got a German certification on it, so they follow all the codes of building suspension to those codes, and they come up with a really good thing for a good price. So the only thing I haven't done is I haven't upgraded the front suspension on this one. It is still a little bit mushy, but the rear suspension has sort of ironed out the ride pretty well. It's a great bike to ride. I love it, and it just sounds so good. You know, once you warm that engine up and get it going, it sounds beautiful. It reminds me of a sports car sort of sound, with the triple, the way it sounds and sort of thing. Coming from these two pea shooters. Now, these are the original pea shooters. Now, what they tell me is that once they sort of wear in a bit and you know, the insides sort of start to deteriorate and get blown out the end, they start to actually sound better. And I believe that because this bike just sounds beautiful. Once it's warmed up, it just sounds beautiful. I'll just get over to the fire here. It's much better. Yeah, so just to the modifications of this bike. Now, my friend Bernie, who had the bike just prior to me, after Peter passed away, did some really tasteful modifications, and Peter wanted it to look like this, and Bernie gave it the treatment, and he spent quite a bit of money on it. Did a beautiful little job. What he did is he put a Thruxton headlight on it, which is a much bigger headlight, and that throws out a lot more light. I've also added a decent globe in it. That was an expensive one. It's still a H4, but still good, and throws out a lot of light. He also added the LED little sort of bobber style indicators, which look really, really good. It's made it just a lot neater.
really nice. It's more bobber style. And also I added the Thruxton bar end mirrors. Bernie did add some different style ones. They were little piddly little things like that. I didn't like them because I couldn't see what was coming behind me. So I put these on, and they're original Thruxton's, Triumph Thruxton mirrors, and they work quite well, and they're really well made. They're a good quality thing. Also, the rear indicators are the same, and I think the biggest thing with this bike, the biggest mod, is the bobbed guard. It's cut off about there, and I think this was a bolt-on thing. I think you can actually buy the cut guards and bolt them on, and as you can see, it fits perfectly. You know, there's no cutting or shutting or anything like that. It goes on the bike beautifully. And also with that was the tail light. That's an LED tail light, and as you can see, it looks quite nice, really nice. And I think there's only one other thing that was done to it, and that's the flat bars. Yeah, that's right, because these bikes came out with Harley style, very mini sort of apes sort of thing, which I've all still got upstairs there. All the parts that go back on this bike to make it original is still there. Look, it's been a cracker. There's only been one thing that's gone wrong with it, actually, now that I think of it. The starter button, a very flimsy little item that's plasticky, and there was nothing I could do with it. I pulled everything apart to see if I could glue it back together to get it going and everything else, and it's all part of that switch block. There was nothing I could do, except what I did is I got a wire into the block. As you can see, it goes up in there, and this little button here does the job now, and I've just attached it there. So one day eventually I'll get another switch block and do the job properly, but that's doing the job for now. Look, what can I say? 1996, they did a fantastic job. What I'm really impressed with is the performance of this thing for the age. I guess there was faster bikes on the road, yes, but for this style of bike, there's more than enough power. The radiator gives it away. It's a water-cooled item, and it really does well. Now, this needs to be mentioned about these engines. Don't ever try to start one of these bikes with a crook battery, one that's only going to crank very slowly. What you need is a fully charged battery to spin that starter motor, to get that motor going, so that when it fires, it doesn't backfire. And that was one problem that caused some catastrophic stuff with these bikes. What can happen is if the engine backfires on startup, it'll hit the sprag clutch that's supposed to be turning it forward, and because that's a weak part of the system, it'll break it. And the problem is with these bikes, with this particular engine, is that you need to take it out of the frame and split the case to repair it. Now that wasn't so earlier on. Now I don't know why Triumph did that, but earlier on, like under that cover there's a Triumph 900 Trident with a very similar engine, if not nearly identical, and they actually had a cover that you could get in there and do your repair. It was a tight job to do, but if you have a look on YouTube, you will actually see guys repairing the sprag clutch. Not so on this one. There is no access into the crankcase or anything else like that from the top. There's no cover of where that starter motor is and where your sprag clutch is. So, bit of a nightmare, that one, but that gives you more reason to keep your bike in tip-top condition and make sure your battery's good. As you can see here, I've got a C-Tech nipple there to put a C-Tech charger in, and I've got a quality battery in this one, and I make sure that it's always charged up so that that isn't going to happen. And in all this time, I mean, the bike's done, you know, a lot of Ks, and it's never happened. It's So it's a rare occurrence, but it can if you haven't got your finger on the pulse and you're not maintaining your bike the way you should be, I guess. And I don't want that to happen to me. So I thought I would mention that. That's about the only thing bad that can really happen to this bike. Otherwise, they're a very robust thing. As you can see, everything's steel. You know, there's no plastic on it or anything else like that, apart from a few little things like, you know, flimsy switch or something like that. But otherwise, it's a fantastic bike. I should really mention that, you know, the igniters and the coils and things on these bikes weren't that reliable. I'm not sure if they were Lucas items, and that tells you everything. But there is a lot of aftermarket parts for these bikes. This bike now has German coils on them and igniters and all that sort of stuff, so they're very reliable. They won't let you down. Well, there you have it, guys. There's a bit of a rundown on Thunder. It's really been a joy owning the bike, looking after the bike for Peter. And when the weather picks up, I'll take Thunder out and we'll get out on the road and you can get an idea of what it sounds like and how it performs. And I'll do the same thing with the old Trident as well. It's about 1 degree, so I'm just not going to do it. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.